minutes when the first time they met.
Do you see how long his hair is? When Dothraki are defeated in combat, they cut off their braid so the whole world can see their shame. Khal Drogo has never been defeated. He's a savage, of course, but he's one of the finest killers alive. And you will be his queen.
Come forward, my dear.
The girl stepped forward. The chief took one look at her and, satisfied, immediately went back to prepare for the wedding. The brother was discussing the wedding arrangements with the matchmaker, but the girl was unwilling.
I don't want to be his queen. I want to go home.
So do I. I want us both to go home, but they took it from us. So tell me, sweet sister, how do we go home?
I don't know.
We go home with an army, with Khal Drogo's army. I would let his whole tribe, all 40,000 men and their horses too, if that's what it took.
Khaleesi had no choice but to attend the wedding as planned. The barbarian wedding was bloody, brutal, and lewd. People danced a horse-riding dance to celebrate. The fights and injuries only excited them more, making Khaleesi feel very uncomfortable. At this moment, a knight approached and gave her a civilized gift. Then he told her that he had once served her father and would now protect her. Khaleesi was very pleased to have such a civilized and loyal guard protecting her. Then, the matchmaker presented a bridal gift, 3 dragon eggs. Seeing those eggs, she reflected on the past. It turned out the girl's true identity was a princess of the Targaryen dynasty. 17 years ago, her father was killed by Jaime Lannister. The Targaryen dynasty, which had ruled the continent of Westeros for 282 years, fell. Since then, Khaleesi, with her brother, had been exiled overseas. According to legend, the Targaryens were the masters of dragons, capable of breeding and controlling them. However, dragons had been extinct for hundreds of years. No one present had ever seen a real one. For many years, Khaleesi and her brother had both wanted to return to their homeland, so they chose to marry into the barbarian tribe. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the girl followed the chief to a horse. The white horse was a gift from him, intended to be her mount.
She's beautiful. Sir Jorah, I don't know how to say thank you in Dothraki.
There is no word for thank you in Dothraki.
The chief picked up the girl in his arms, and the two of them went to the seaside together. Amidst tears and pain, Khaleesi completed her wedding. From that day on, she was forced to endure painful horse riding every day, suffering greatly. It even became difficult for her to dismount and walk. One day, Khaleesi learned from her maid about a husband-taming technique that could please man and lessen her own suffering. In the tutorial, the maid explained the first step of the husband-taming technique is to look into the man's eyes. The second step is to ignite his desire for conquest.
Men want what they've never had. Very good, Khaleesi. Out there, he is the mighty Khal. But in this tent, he belongs to you.
I don't think that this is the Dothraki way.
If he wanted the Dothraki way, why did he marry you?
With this, the girl successfully won over the chief. Not long after, she became pregnant, now carrying the chief's son. Khaleesi's words were more important. However, her brother was not pleased. He angrily threw the messenger maid aside, furiously yelling at her for daring to order him to attend the barbarian's feast. He then grabbed the feast attire.
Hide me. The next time you raise a hand to me will be the last time you have
the drunken brother
hands.
Suddenly appeared and started to cause trouble. He drew his sword and pointed it directly at Khaleesi's belly, threatening the chief to give him an army to help him reclaim his homeland, or he would kill his son. The chief pretended to agree, but then, in a swift move, crowned him with a scorching hot crown.
Daddy, please!
Despite the brother desperate pleas for Khaleesi to spare his life, she remained indifferent. She knew her brother was a lost cause and incapable of taking her home. On another day, the Dothraki raided a village as usual, looting everything in sight. The kind-hearted girl ordered them not to harm the women, but one of the chief's henchmen reported her actions. The chief sided with the mother of his son. Of course, displeased, the henchman challenged Khal. Though Khal won, he was wounded. Khaleesi wanted a witch to heal him, but Khal dismissed it as a minor scratch. Unexpectedly, the next day, he fell from his horse as the wound became infected. The witch, upon examining him, said he wouldn't survive the night. Ser Jorah urged Khaleesi to flee, as a fallen chief could no longer command his followers. Unwilling to leave, Khaleesi ordered the witch to save him. The witch agreed to use blood magic to heal her husband, but the cost was a life for a life. The child in her womb in exchange for her husband. Khaleesi agreed. They brought a horse and used its blood as a conduit for dark magic. Outside the tent, the henchman resisted the use of dark magic. Khaleesi wanted to stop him but couldn't. Ser Jorah stood up and fought for her. Then he carried Khaleesi, who was in labor, into the tent. The next day, Khaleesi woke up and was told that her son was a monstrosity and died right after birth. And what's worse, although the chief was revived, he remained in a vegetative state, neither alive nor dead. In agony, Khaleesi chose to end her husband's life herself by smothering him. With the chief dead, most of the Dothraki army deserted, leaving only the old, weak, and injured behind. Overnight,